The last thing I want to cover too is helping shops on their management and business side. We talked a little bit before about a few aspects, and I wanted to pick your brain on some common issues that you see on the business and management side, and how folks can help to
Well,
improve
this
that.
ties in perfectly with your software and that documentation, the ability to analyze how things went wrong or how things went right, and to look for bottlenecks. It's all based on documentation. I was famous in the 80s. In my own mind, I was famous, but I was famous for pontificating about how important this was to reduce things because I was doing what your Printavo software must be doing. You're doing production scheduling and work order creation. I created for the two companies that I wrote software for. I wrote software that was bar-coded very early on when all we had was dot matrix printers. It was before the era of the laser printer. You could see I'm old and tired. But we had was a little thing that looked like a credit card. It was from Videc. It was a thing that could scan the barcode. So when the work order came to the screen room, when the guy was done, he'd scan it and then, pass the job along to the next spot in the dominoes, and that each job should fall through the shop. And with the perfect work order, you're with me on this, Bruce, the job should just go through the shop without somebody standing at the door going, what? What? Well, Rich, I want to know what color ink you wanted on the third something here. What shirt should we be using? What's the zip code? This is what runs the company, is the poorly written work order puts every job in the ditch. And the properly written work order is like crime. It happens, and the perfect job spits out the other end when the UPS man picks it up. At the end of each day, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they would bring the barcode things to me. I'd stick it into a little reader, which in 1982, this was so cool. And you just stick it in, it would suck all the information off. I then put that into a database unit, and I could generate the new schedules about 30 or 40 minutes right afterward. And nobody had to enter in job number 48192. All they had to do was put in their barcode reader. So this is a miracle 35 or 40, what is almost 40 years ago now.
That's very cool. So you talk about writing things down, very important. I think that
documentation and training. Absolutely.
Training.
Things that are lacking.
Training. Okay, so what more specifically about training? Is it cross-training? Is it just new employees? Is it continue? What is it?
First of all, you want to create a culture that wants to make things better. Because when I feel that in a shop, I know that shop can go places, but when everybody doesn't want to make things better, I can't drag the dead horse to the water to get it to drink. I just made that one up. That's not very good. The whole idea is that if they're not trained at all. So too many people are being trained not by the experts, but by people that were smart enough to have their own vanity YouTube channel. So you get 1 million people teaching often the wrong thing. The problem, nobody wants to pay for an expert, but an expert is why you go to college. An expert is why you go to high school. An expert is learning the proper way versus learning the handed down word of mouth way. That may be good in some instances, but it's all basic science.
How could maybe a medium or small size shop get the expert's way of helping to train their staff?
Well, again, I think the easiest way is the books. For instance, there are 3 books that are in the screen making area. One is by Autotype. They created a terrific training book that they let it slide. I have copies. I've scanned the copies. I'll give it away to anybody who wants it. They've given me permission to distribute it. Sati, the great Italian mesh manufacturer, Andre Paskins, who worked for them, created 2 fabulous books on screen making. There's none better. Nobody's ever created anything like that. Joe Clark wrote a book called Control Without Confusion about high-end, full-color process screen printing that we published in 1985-86. That's 30 years ago. ST Publications doesn't put it up on the web. I've scanned it. I got permission from Joe, and ST Pubs don't care if I distribute it. So people that want the books, I have those books. I've scanned them with my scanning gear, and these are the best books in that instance. I'm trying to think of other slam dunk things. There's nothing really about printing, but M&R, of course. M&R doesn't like their books, but M&R has manuals that on how to print that when Joe Clark was the president of M&R that are 3/4 of an inch thick about the philosophy of why you want to print faster. Those books and literally hundreds of other books that just teach about the science of what we do, it needs to be basic reading. Think of screen printing as a new hobby that you might want to study. Make screen printing your new hobby and study the classic books. The SGIA, Screen Printing Association, which is now the Specialty Graphics and Imaging Association, when you belong to the SGIA, they have tons of books, not books, but articles that have been the basic backbone and philosophy that can all be downloaded if you're a member. It does
Sure.
cost $140, $150 a year minimum to join, but you are giving back to the political arm of screen printing to funds the lobbying that we do in Washington, D.C.
Got it. Well, I think those are really good tips. You can get very busy and wrapped up in your current work and, not step back and be able to study the craft and be able to write down the processes and be able to iterate and improve on those and do proper training of your team and continually do that over time too. So thanks, Richard, and have a great rest of the weekend now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.